Hello from America. So I ran out of time in Europe to make all these videos because I was very busy during my last few weekends with traveling up to the last minute, finishing up things in Florence, saying bye to everybody, and taking finals. I just didn't have time to make these videos, but I really want to stick it through and finish up my last few. So I have London, Interlaken, and like my wrap-up video, and then probably like back in America kind of, reflective type of thing. So there's probably about 4 videos left, but here's my video about London. This trip was really cool because I wanted to do at least one trip while I was in Europe where I traveled alone, and because it kind of pushes you outside your comfort zone, and I was nervous about it, but I wanted to see if I could do it, and it turned out really well. There was a few little hang-ups, but nothing tragic. It was all in good adventurous fun, I guess, and I had a really great time, and I really loved London. So anyway, the reason I decided to visit London was because, 1, I've always wanted to go, and 2, my friend and sorority sister was studying in London, so it was really perfect because I got to visit her. And we were the only ones in our sorority that were studying abroad this semester, so, or at least in Europe. I don't know. I think that's right. So it's kind of a cool little opportunity. So anyway, my flight left Pisa at like 7 in the morning. I had purchased my tickets for pretty affordable off of Ryanair, which was pretty awesome. But Ryanair's kind of a gyp, so also it tricks you. But anyway, my flight left at like 7 in the morning from Pisa, so I was leaving Florence at like 3 in the morning, so I just decided to stay up and pack my bag and take a shower and stuff like that, and of course somehow pushed it to the last minute, and I'm like running to the Santa Maria Novella station. Classic life, my life. Anyway, all I packed was a backpack, so I was just trying to pack light this weekend since it was just a short trip, and I just kind of wanted to do the traditional, Europe weekend backpack thing. Anyway, so I got to the bus, I took the shuttle, got to the the airport, waited, got on the plane, got to London, and we arrived at like 8 or 9 in the morning and took like an hour-long shuttle. It was like a coach charter bus kind of thing from the airport into the town. I flew into Stansted. And when I got there, it was too early for my hostel because it was like not check-in time yet. And I was staying in Camden Town because that's where my friend Lauren lives, and it was a really cool part of London. Anyway, I'm really glad I stayed there. I stayed at a St. Christopher's Inn, which there's like a lot of those throughout Europe, and so it was pretty cool setup. They are very like youth oriented. They have like bars in them and like very like chill. I don't know. They're usually pretty nice too. So anyway, I was staying there and decided to charge my phone up and try and get into contact with Lauren and figure out what I was doing. Decided to head out, and I was walking by next door, and there was this just grocery store, and they had some of these pastries that I could smell, and they smelled so good, so I went in there and got that as like my lunch because I was just trying to save money because the British conversion rate is pretty atrocious. It's like I took out £100 and it was like 170 American dollars or something, so it's like really bad exchange rate, but oh well, it was worth it. Anyway, so I went to the metro, which I was obsessed with. It's their underground, subway station system, whatever. They call it the Tube, I guess. And I used that a ton throughout the weekend, and it was really fun, and I really liked how it was set up, and I really wish that like every city had something like that, because it just like picked you up and dropped you off basically everywhere you need to go, and then a metro comes every 5 seconds, or a tube comes every minute. So it was perfect. I decided to do a little bit of exploring on my own, so I headed out and took a stop that dropped me off right outside Kensington Gardens. So I got to walk through that park, and it was super gorgeous. It's like a giant park, kind of like Central Park, just like huge, never-ending, tons of trees, and there's little families walking their kids in strollers, playing with their dogs, and I got to see the Royal Albert Memorial thing. And then I went across the street to Hyde Park, where there's like the Princess Di little fountain memorial thing, and then there's like the Iris statue and a bunch of stuff. There's just a really cool area. There's a ton of leaves. It was like still fall foliage, and even though it was pretty late in the season, it was like a ton of different colors, and there was leaves all over the ground. It just looked like so much fun. I just wanted to like jump around in it and roll around in it, and I was just like on cloud 9 because everything was going well, and I was like, I'd gotten there successfully, and I was just kind of feeling independent and confident, and it was just really cool. Anyway, so I hung around there for a while and checked everything out, and then I decided to head back to my hostel to kind of check back in with Lauren, and she had just gotten off work and like needed a nap. She'd been having a really long day or something, so I decided I was going to head back out and try and catch one of the museums. I had found out that like all the museums in London are like, they're free, but there's recommended, like, you're supposed to you can, not you're supposed to, but you can donate, you know, when you walk in, but it's definitely like set up that you can walk in and go for free. So there were several different ones I wanted to see, and one of them was called Victoria and Albert, and that's the one I decided to go to. So I took the tube over there, and it was literally a spectacularly amazing museum. I mean, it was so cool. Probably maybe the best museum I went to, and I lived in Florence, which is like the city of museums, so I saw some crazy amazing art everywhere in Europe, but that one I would definitely make sure you go to if you're ever visiting London. Really cool exhibits, jewelry exhibits, funky kind of different exhibits. They have like every type of thing. They have like iron, silver, gold, bronze, statues, Asian stuff, you know, Middle Eastern stuff, French stuff, Italian stuff, just like everything. The whole world is basically in that museum, so it was really cool. Then I decided to head back and get back in contact with Lauren, and we planned to meet up for like a dinner kind of thing. And so we met up at like the Ice Wharf, which I guess is a pretty popular little place, and I got a pretty affordable little meal. It was like a pulled pork sandwich, and I was really excited in London because they had like variety. That was the most similar to America type of thing that was London, besides the fact that they speak English, duh. But they have like all the different types of food. You know, they have Indian food, they have Mexican food, they have American food, whatever. Like, they have all the different types of food, so it's kind of cool because, you know, in Italy you pretty much eat Italian food all the time. So I was enjoying trying some new stuff out. We were just hanging out, catching up, which was really nice. And then we went back to her apartment and got to meet her roommates, I think. That was the night? Yeah. And it was really cool. All of her roommates are really cool. She has an awesome little, I guess, flat is what they call them. And some of her friends decided to come out with us, and we went out to, you know, kind of check out the nightlife scene. I was super exhausted since I had stayed up all night and had only gotten, like, weird plane sleep, so I was probably running on like 2 to 4 hours maybe. So I kind of pooped out and died at like midnight, which is pretty lame, but I was really tired, so I headed back to my hostel and grabbed McDonald's on the way, which was actually really good. And ironically enough, I ended up going into my hostel, and instead of going to sleep immediately, I went down to this lounge area to eat my food, because you're not supposed to eat in like the hostel rooms. And I ended up meeting this Australian guy who was working at the hostel and had obviously been to Europe, just traveling and visiting, and then decided to stay in London and work. And so he was a really interesting guy, and we kind of got to chat, and it was really nice, and that was cool. That was just the beginning of like meeting people in the hostel. The next night I met a bunch of people, so it was really cool. But then I went to bed, and then I woke up and decided to sleep in a little bit, and I missed the hostel breakfast because I was just so tired. And then I got up out of bed, took a shower, and decided to meet up with Lauren. And all the time we were doing the tube stuff, if you're visiting London for a short time, I would recommend doing what I did. It was like, you just buy an all-day pass, which is like £8, and then you can just ride the tubes as much as you want, like unlimited, which is pretty nice. We decided to just do a really traditional, like, tour of London, and she just kind of helped me find all the different sites to see, and, you know, just kind of check things off my list of stuff I wanted to do. So we got to see, like, basically everything there is to see in London. And so it started out, we went to Buckingham Palace and saw the changing of the guard, which is kind of cool. There's a huge gathering, and then they come in on horses and all that stuff, you know, where the Queen lives and stuff, or whatever, I don't know, Queen lives, works, I don't know, whatever, royal stuff. And anyway, so we went from the Buckingham Palace to, and we kind of just wandered around. We took the metro sometimes, we walked sometimes. It was just a really nice weather, actually. I got really lucky. Then we took the tube, and we got off at Westminster stop, and we got off, and we literally popped out, and it was like, oh, there's Big Ben right there, just right there. So, Parliament and Big Ben are kind of stuck together, and then, like, Westminster Abbey's right there, and then London Eye's right across the street, like, right across the lake or river, I don't even know, River Thames. And so it's like all right there, so it's just like overwhelming. I was like, oh my god, it's like all of London, everything just right here. So we got this we stopped inside a like Tesco Express or something, which is like a grocery store, and we got this really cool little £3 lunch deal where you get like a sandwich and chips. I guess they call them crisps. Chips are fries and crisps are chips. And a drink for £3, which is really not a bad deal at all. So we got that. We had a little picnic by the Westminster Abbey. It's casual. It was super cool. It was chilly, but it was really nice. And so we went and took some pictures in front of the church, and then took some pictures in front of the Big Ben and everything. And she was really nice, and she was nice enough to take pictures of me. Unfortunately, my camera like conked out before we even got to changing the guards, so I had to do everything on my iPhone, which kind of frustrated me a lot because, you know, I really like photography, so I was really disappointed. But anyway, so then we went and we kind of wandered all the way down, and we saw, you know, the Globe Theater kind of area. We saw the St. Paul's Basilica, I think Paul it is, and Millennium Bridge, and obviously we went over and walked by London Eye and like the left bank and all that stuff. I'm trying to see what else we saw. There was a Christmas market going on in one of the areas, so that was kind of fun. We got to see them having all the mulled wine. It was very similar to the Christmas markets that they had in Italy and in Germany and all that stuff. We saw the Tate Modern Museum. I didn't go in it, but we saw it, and just kind of people watched some people doing some like skateboarding. It was just really cool. I'm trying to read through. I made like notes the whole time I was there, because when you travel alone, you kind of are like, I'm bored some of the time, so I was like writing down everything I did. Oh, and then on our way back, we stopped at one of the stations. I think it's called King's Cross Station or something like that. Yeah. And we did the platform 9 3/4 thing. She's already done like all this, obviously, 'cause she had lived there the whole semester. But she was nice enough to kind of go through the whole city again with me. And so that little Harry Potter like platform 9 3/4, I got my little picture and everything. It's very fun. And then we got back to Camden Town, and she headed back to her apartment to get some homework done and stuff like that. And I just decided to kind of be on my own for the night and do whatever I wanted or whatever. So I ended up getting dinner. Actually, I went back to my hostel for a while, and it kind of ended up being a mess because they had told me I was going to have to move beds like within my room, but then like when I got back, I didn't have a bed. Somehow there was like overbooked. It was very weird. Long story short, they ended up moving me to another room entirely, which was fine, except for I'd kind of become friends with some people in my room, but then it was cool because then I met a bunch of other ones in my new room. But it was kind of a mess. I was waiting, and it was a scramble. Anyway, so I went out for dinner, and then I came back. Oh, and I had a nice little dinner by myself, which was kind of, you know, weird. Like, I went out and, like, had a date with me, kind of. So I feel like the people kind of looked at me like, oh, just one? Alright. But I went to this burger place, and it was really delicious, and there's really no burgers in Italy, so not good ones anyway. So that was fun, and, you know, I think it's really good. I think it's a really good thing to go and do things, like, on your own and learn how to, like, go to museums and enjoy them alone and have meals alone and stuff like that. I think studying abroad is something that's like really good for that, like just learning to like love your own company and kind of just keep yourself entertained and happy and stuff like that, and not just be like miserable without people with you constantly. So I headed back to my hostel, and I was like super exhausted again because I had gotten up and I'd just been hitting the pavement all day, but I was like, well, it's my last night in London and I want to do something. So these girls that were in my hostel, they were trying to like go out to a club and like do this whole thing, but I was just like, ugh, not really feeling that. Didn't really want to change clothes and all that jazz. But we ended up starting to talk and got kind of hit it off. I don't know. And so they convinced me to like go out just to the bar downstairs. That was part of our hostel or whatever. And it was kind of cool because this Argentine guy and his sister were also in our room, and some weird thing had happened where he forgot his ID, so he came back to the hostel, and then it was too late for him to go back, so he ended up hanging out with us, and this guy from Sweden was in our room, and he ended up hanging out with us, and then the Australian guy that I'd met the night before that works there, he lived in the hostel, and he was in the same room, so he was downstairs working, and all this stuff happened. Long story short, we ended up with this kind of, like, crew, and it was really fun, and, you know, it was a random night, just whatever. We were just hanging out and having a good time, but it was really fun. It was nice getting to know some new people and just, like, strangers becoming, you know, friends. That's the really cool part about staying in hostels and just traveling Europe, because everybody has their own stories and why they're there, and one of the girls was studying in Bologna, which is, like, not that far from Florence, so it was just really fun. I had a really good time with them. We stayed up really late, and then I ended up coming back into my room and crashing. And then the next day, sorry. Oh, whatever. I have so many things I could tell about London, but I'm going to fast forward because it's already a really long video, sorry. Whatever. The next day, I ended up just getting up, and I wanted to do some more museums or check out the city some more. So, oh my gosh, why is this? I don't know. Sorry, I'm reading through my notes and I'm confused. Sorry, I just wasted like 30 seconds. Anyway, long story short, I ended up going to the Museum of Natural History, which I don't really care that much about natural history museums. Like, that stuff's like, you know, dinosaurs and gemstones and stuff like that. Not my super favorite, but the museum itself was gorgeous, and it's right next to the Victorian Albert, and it's also free. But it's just like the coolest building ever, and I went in through some exhibits just to kind of check it out, and it was definitely worth my time. It was really cool, but, you know, I would prefer the Victorian Albert one. I would say recommend it higher just because it was my personal favorite. But it was a cool museum. Definitely want to go in there and just like look at it. And I grabbed a sandwich at this little place called like Pret a Manger. It's like this little French sandwich kind of thing that they have throughout London. And anyway, so I'm heading back on the tube to go back to my hostel, and I'm just sitting there. I've been by myself all day. I hadn't really contacted Lauren because I didn't know if we were gonna get a chance to. Oh, I had contacted her to see if maybe I could like meet up for tea or something. So English, and I hadn't really heard back. And I was, you know, in and out of Wi-Fi, whatever. So I'm just sitting on the tube, just watching people around me, whatever. And lo and behold, whosoever sits next to me, but Lauren herself. It was the weirdest thing. She was on the exact same tube as me, going to the same place, like, but it was from the most random spot ever. It was just weird, mystic bond fate, definitely. Freaky. So that was really cool. So it was like, oh, hey, surprise, here we are. Like, I guess we'll hang out because we're right here. Which was perfect because I wanted to see her before I left. So we ended up going to the Camden markets, which some people had mentioned, and I was like, okay, I'll check them out, whatever. They are really cool, and they are huge, and if I had had money, I would have shopped for a million days because they had so much stuff. Clothing, jewelry, candles, whatever, like every weird item ever, all this food. They had all these different types of food and treats and restaurants, and I mean, it was just like the hugest, massive. We got like lost in there for like 2 hours. We just kind of wandered around hanging out and looking at things, and so it was really cool. Good way to end my little trip. So I said bye to her, went back to my hostel, got my stuff, and then a series of unfortunate events happened, and I got to the station, got to where I was supposed to be going. I got lost, even though earlier in the morning before I went to the museum, I had specifically made a point to spend about an hour figuring out how to get to the train station and how I was going to get to the airport and like have it all figured out. So I was like, oh, I'm good. I know exactly where to go. I know exactly how much it costs. Deedly-dee. Nope. False. So, bad stuff happened. Got lost. Didn't have enough money for the thing. Had to beg the bus that I was getting on. I mean, it was just like the most embarrassing thing ever. I almost started crying. I was stressing out, and then I got on the coach, which was supposed to take an hour because that's how long it took from Stansted into town. So I thought into town out to Stansted would be an hour also. False. It was 2 hours. So, totally screwed me up. I was literally like 15 minutes late for my flight, so I missed it, which was just, you know, fantastic. So I'm freaking out, stressing out, and I had to pay like a rebook fee, which was a pretty hefty fee, and especially with the lovely exchange rate that I had mentioned earlier, that was really unpleasant, so that wasn't fun. And I had to spend the night at the airport on a bench like a homeless person, and I got to sleep there, and that was really tons of fun. And stay in the same clothes for like 48 hours or whatever I was doing, and it was a mess, but, you know, it was kind of a good story, fun adventure, whatever. I mean, honestly, it wasn't that bad. Besides the money, I don't care. Everything else was just kind of a fun story, and I'm pretty, like, flexible and whatever, so. And I would say it's a lesson learned, but it really wasn't my fault exactly. It was kind of just a weird, strange series of events where I just, like, got really confused and the timing got all screwed up, and it wasn't all me being an idiot. But anyway, got on the flight, and then surprise bonus feature, I had realized that my original flight I was going to get in at like midnight into Pisa, and I wasn't going to get to Florence till like dark and all this stuff. But then, since I got to switch my flight and I got the lucky opportunity to sleep in the airport, I was going to have this new flight leaving at 8 in the morning, and I was going to get into Pisa at like 9 or 10. So it was perfect because I was really wanting to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it happen because this was like the second to last weekend I had in Europe. And I was like, guess I'm not making it to Pisa. That sucks. I really want to see it, but well, I don't really have time. So I said, Carpe diem, seize the day. I'm going to go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa because I can. and I'm already missing class anyway. I'd already written my professor, and I was like, I missed my flight, I'm not even going to be there, so whatever. I was like, I'm going to do it. So I found this bus. I missed the bus stop to Pisa, ended up at some weird grocery store. I had to like ask the lady how to get back. She didn't speak English. I was trying to figure out Italian, and I found my way back to the tower, and I was like, oh, glorious tower, there you are. But of course, then I'm by myself, so I'm taking like Leaning Tower of Pisa selfies, which are pretty awkward, but whatever. It was a ton of fun. I'm glad I got to see it. It was really neat, really interesting, and I survived, and I got back to Florence after a long, long day, and I was pretty exhausted, and it was pretty exciting when I got back to the Santa Maria Novella station. And that pretty much concludes my stories of being in London. There's a ton of little side stories and interesting little weird tidbits, just like all my other things, and I don't know how this became a 20-minute video, and I'm sorry, but it was just a really cool weekend, and I was totally by myself, so it was a pretty interesting experience. But yeah, definitely recommend the London trip. You should go. Anyway, that's pretty much it.